Hey everybody, Warthog DIY here, and whether I'm gaming on a PC or a console, I usually like to have everything run smoothly. In this particular case, I'm playing my PC games on an Acer Aspire 5 laptop. It's a 1 terabyte 8 gig DDR3 with an AMD A10 processor laptop, and it does the job just fine. I can run Fallout 4 with high graphics and not lag too much, not take away from the gaming experience. However, the one thing that I do not like about laptops is that they put out an excessive amount of heat and I can't cool it as easily as I can a desktop. So the gist of this DIY video is to allow this laptop to breathe a little bit better, and the goal is to have this project take about a day from the design process to putting it back together and playing your games again. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through the process of drilling extra vent holes in the bottom case of this Acer laptop to provide better airflow for the hard drive, the RAM, the GPU, and the two. Alright, and as you can see, here are vents that I've designed and the circular vent for the laptop. This is what we're going to use. You can see the dimensions here, and these are 3 by 30 seconds holes. We're going to print them out, cut them out as stencils, and apply them to the casing so that we can have a clear idea of where we're drilling into and what we're cutting.
So here's the stencil I drew out earlier. Everything's cut out from it, but as you can see here, I only made one circular vent stencil. I should have used two, or should have made two, because now we're missing one. Now, as you can see, all the stencils are on, at least the stencils that we have available. Here's the circular stencil, excuse me. As you can see, some of these are colored in. Those are the ones that I'm avoiding and not cutting because they would compromise the structural integrity of the already preformed grill vents that are over there. And the trick to figuring out which ones to blot out or mark out is very easy, and I'll show you in 1 second. Alright, here we are back with our laptop, and now we've got a simple flashlight. I like to use an LED flashlight. You know, you can get away with any other type. Anyways, we illuminate the underside of the body, and there we can see what vents and where their locations are, and based off that we can mark out which ones we don't want. As you can see, a few of them, like the very bottom left one and an outlier in the top left, those are kind of too close to the vents, even though they are optimal for venting, but we'll be fine. As we talked earlier, the outer portions, or the outer vents, they're the ones that are going to be the most important, because that's where the fan blades are spinning underneath this bottom case. So here we are, and let's talk about the few options we have. One of the options would be to put this thing in a vise in some sort of tool holder, and then we would take a vertical mill, and just repeatedly drop our drill bit in to make all these holes, but that would give us an advantage of a perfectly centered drill spot every single time we drill, as well as having the X and Y and Z directional movement of the table so that we can center our holes, or center one hole and then just go down the line on the X-axis over and over and over, making each hole. Another way would be to do it by hand. Obviously, just put something underneath this, because as you can see, there's a little bit of play underneath it because it's hollow. So put something underneath it, maybe a piece of foam, maybe a towel to kind of absorb it in different pressure points, and then drill it by hand. But then, of course, you've got to make sure that you're drilling very, very perfectly. So center drill each time. A couple of degrees tilt in any direction can give us unsightly drills, and it just wouldn't look professional. So I will try to attempt both of them, since obviously this is a lot of holes, and we still got to do one more vent over here once we complete this circular one over there. I'm going to do the hand method to do some of the smaller ones. We'll maybe do that one, and then I'll take it to the mill and then show you guys how to mill this out a little more cleanly. And this can be done with a shop mill, an actual industrial grade mill. I mean, you can even do a CNC mill if you'd like to. That would be the easiest, actually. A CNC mill would be the quickest way to do this, but then you still have to make some sort of holder for this case to stand on and to absorb all the forces that are going to be dealt to this case from the CNC mill head. Anyways, getting off topic, let me see what I can do about setting this up for a hand drill operation, and we'll see how it goes. Now we're set up for our first drilling operation. We're going to be doing this small inch-by-inch vent. That's going to be for our hard drive to breathe a little bit. Actually, no, excuse me, that's not for the hard drive. That's for a GPU. So let's start. We're going to do the hand drill method. We've got this on a small cardboard box because I am away from my workshop at the moment. So we're doing this kind of rough. Let's see if we can get a good result doing it by hand. There, let me try to center that. Now, with the by hand method, it's not a chuck like you would see on a CNC mill or on a regular mill. This is a little wobbly, as you can see. There's a little bit of play. I'm going to have to be very careful with how I do this to make sure that I don't change the angle of the cut too much during the procedure. So let's see if we can start with this hole right here. I'm going to try to line it up. And this is a 3/32 bit. We're in inches, and so we're gonna just very slowly start this profile. And as you can see, the drill's walking a little bit, so we gotta use a little bit more force. There we go. I'm starting the first cut. Alright, we got through the first one. Let's see how that turned out. Take the excess dust off, and we're definitely going to need a vacuum after this. So the stencil shows we got a good hole that's cut out through it. And on the other side, as you can see, there's our hole. It's pretty nice. It's not too bad. I don't see any cracking or any chipping. It looks like we did a pretty good cut. So let's repeat this. 25 times. Well, 24 now. Or no, wait. Wow, that's 5 and 4. 20 times. 19 more. So I line it up, and hopefully the LED on the drill can get you a little better shot at what we're doing here. Nope, it's really bright. Alright, that's hole number 2, and as you can see, the drill moves a little bit during this, because by hand, obviously, once again, you're not getting those straight cuts, those straight edges that we'd be hoping for, but we are on the stencil, as you can see here. We're doing a pretty good job of hitting the stencil. There we go, that's a good zoom, or that's a good focus. So let's see what it looks like on the other side, and once again, everything looks decent. Holes are nicely spaced. They're just big enough that there's going to be airflow, but they aren't big enough that we compromise the structure too much. And a nice vent mesh like this will cover it once we're done on the inside, so we're not going to be letting any foreign particulates in larger than the ones that these OEM vents let in. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to get back to you once all these are cut, and then we will move on to hopefully the mill, because this is going to take a long time. Alright, and here we are with the first set of holes drilled out. Now this is the by hand method. As you can see right here, this was going to continue but had to stop because of this grill right here, the OEM grill. And so here's our first set of holes. There's our second set of holes for the fan, and fan number 2. And this is our GPU kind of cooling. Now as you can see, one of them or two of them are a little crooked. Now you got to remember, this was the by hand method, so this one actually turned out real nice in my point of view. from my point of view. The other ones are kind of okay. I'm happy with them. As you can see, I blocked some of them off because I don't want to actually open this up too much. We're just going to do these 2 rows right here. This is going to continue to be opened, and this is going to continue to be opened. As you can see here, I started it, but I wasn't happy with it. After all these sets, you start to kind of get worse at them over time. So this ended up being a little crooked, so I said I'm going to take these and do them all in the mill. So the next section of this will be showing how to mill this out, and we'll see if it looks better or worse or no different from the by hand ones. So as you can see, this one's got the first fan, second fan, and our GPU now have vents, and now we're going to do a vent right here for this heat pipe that travels between these 2 openings, and then open up a little bit more because the RAM kind of extends out to this part right here, which is obviously, as you can see, unopened. And then the hard drive, just a little bit. The hard drive is right here, so it won't really be where the hard drive is, or it's not going to have dust go directly on the drive, but it's just a little bit of an airspace so that air can eventually move through there if it does choose to heat up. So that's it. There we go. The next part will be milling it on a vertical standing mill. Here we are milling. As you can see, it's a lot easier to keep everything vertical here. It's a lot easier to work with, and we get a better cut. Obviously, the tooling's more expensive. This is how we're going to be milling it. Now a CNC would do much better here, but you got what you can. As you can see, the plastic from the laptop case gives a little bit of give since it's hollow. But just go gently, go easy, go slow, and you'll see it pop back up in a second once the bit makes it through the plastic. Boop. That's how you know that one's done. And move on to the next one. It's a very slow process. A CNC mill would really speed it up, but again, holding this workpiece is more of a challenge than it actually is drilling through all the holes. So I'm going to do a time lapse, and we'll see it all complete. I've already done this one right here for the hard drive. Now I'm about to finish the last row here, and then move on to our CPU vents, and we're done. And basically I just tightened up the distance travel for the mill head, and I just put it down and let the bit eat away at the plastic on its own until the plastic bounces back and the bit pushes through. As you can see here, I just let go of it. Now it's going to be drilling, and it'll bounce back on its own once it's done making the hole. Oh, maybe not that time. There we go. Now we move on to the last set. A little more bounce than I'd like to have, but it's okay. It'll do. A little slower than by hand, but a lot more accurate and a lot straighter. you still gotta measure everything up right, make sure everything still centers. This just gives you a much better chance of getting prettier, more professional looking holes than by hand. Remember, the older the plastic, the frailer it may be, so be careful when you plunge it into the plastic. And make sure to clean it off with air after every drill so you can see exactly what you're doing. Sometimes I do a double peck where I go back in after I finish the first cut, but it's not required. Once it pokes through, I leave it in for a little bit, and there you go. Now we know it's running. Evacuating everything possible out of that hole. Now the four right here, these were done manually by hand, so as you can see there's a little bit of discrepancy in them, so I'm trying to go real slow, even those holes out. Last row. Last one. Cool. So we're back. Here we are with the laptop that we just finished milling through. As you can see, all the holes are completed. There's our hard drive vent, RAM vent, the heat sink or the heat pipe venting, GPU vent, and our two fans right there. So overall, this did drop the computer's temperature by about 5-6 degrees without having to use any external cooling pads or anything. It's a little bit louder, as you can hear more stuff going on inside. It's really not that detrimental, but the experience is a little bit better with gaming. I'm getting a couple frames higher during gameplay, and overall I'm satisfied with it. It's letting in a lot more air, and as you can see, this is where the fan is, the OEM centered fan, but this is the grills that they provided for them. At least this one is. This one's for their heat exchanging radiator. So that was all that this fan had to breathe with, and now we've really opened it up to breathe, and there's the center of the hub where the fan would be underneath it. And the same thing on the other side, just a little bit of a grill that they gave us here, so we just really opened it up and let it breathe a lot more. So overall, I'm very happy with this project. It took less than a day to complete. It's very simple to do. You can do it by hand. Like I said, if you have access to a mill, whether it be a shop mill or a small at-home Dremel mill, I would still do this with a mill because of these lines. They become much straighter and much neater when you do it with a mill. But as you can see here, we did them by hand and they turned out just fine. So overall, there you go. This is how to cool your laptop a little bit more efficiently. Now I'm Warthog DIY. If you like what I do, please hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you all in the next video.